So music is a big part of my life, and there was a time during this whole new age hole I climbed into for a while that I got away from a lot of the music that I like to listen to. I went through a phase there for a while where I just listened to frequency music and like the meditative type stuff for a while because I got into a stage with my personality collapses and stuff like that, and everything I was going through. I'd go through a holy stage and Christian stage. I went through a satanic stage, and then went in the new age stage. Oh, you can't listen to all the secular music, and you can't be involving yourself in all the entertainment stuff. You get like an occult like mentality. And as I've said before, there's good and bad, there's light and dark, and this world's flawed, and really there's just light and dark at everything. And it's really just about moderation on some things, maybe not overdoing everything. So I thought I'd talk about music because when I really got back into it, I'd say in the last year or so, I really realized, wow, you suppressed so much of what you liked, even when you were listening to more regular music. Most people didn't know what all you really liked because you would just pick and choose what you would tell people you liked, to try to fit in. I would want to fit in with people. So, oh, I like this sort of music if I knew you liked that sort of music, maybe, or you liked a certain type of entertainment, I would try to groom myself toward what you liked, so I could fit in with you, or if I wanted to date somebody, so I can fit in with them, whatever. But I used to go to a bunch of concerts. I haven't been to a concert in years, but back in the 90s, definitely went to a lot of concerts for sure. I was in my 20s and went to festivals, went to different shows, was in a band in the 90s. A lot of the concerts I went to back then, I saw, I guess I don't even know where to start. I saw Ozzy probably 4 times. Saw him on one tour called the Merry Mayhem Tour in the winter, where he was co-headline with Rob Zombie, and Mudvayne was the opener. I saw Ozzy on Reunion in the late 90s, first time he really reunited with them on a big tour with Black Sabbath. And there was a band, I believe they were called Farouk Assault or Farouk Assault. I might be getting that wrong. They were all a female band, I believe. And Godsmack also opened for Black Sabbath. I saw Godsmack on it was their opening tour. Yeah, it was their opening, or it was on their opening CD, so they were opening for Sabbath. So that was pretty cool. I saw other bands like that too. Korn. I saw Korn open for Ozzy when they were first making it big. I think the other opener on that particular show was in Nashville. I think it was Life of Agony, Korn, and Ozzy. That was on his Osmosis tour. But with Ozzy, the biggest opener I got to see is Alice in Chains with Lane Staley. Didn't really understand the significance of the time. I was 17, and it's funny, I had been in Lakeside. I'd been in a mental place for a while. I lived there for a couple of weeks. I was suffering from bad depression in my teens, and it had come after moving from Arkansas, a lot of bullying that I dealt with in Arkansas, and all kinds of other stuff in my childhood too. But anyway, when I come out of Lakeside, it's funny, my mom maybe she shouldn't have done it, but she let me go to that concert. She took me down to downtown Memphis and got me a ticket and dropped me off, came back and picked me up. So I got to see Sepultura and Alice in Chains. Lane I think, broke his ankle. So he was in a wheelchair part of the time, I think, and on crutches singing. But Alice in Chains really didn't do, compared to a lot of bands, didn't do a ton of shows with him because he had drug addiction and just had so many issues. But I'm just glad I got to see them. I look back at it now. I like Alice in Chains a lot. And it's like, oh man, it was cool. Got to see them with Lane Staley since he's been passed away for years. I saw Linkin Park when they first came out. That was a interesting tour. They were co-headlining with Cypress Hill and Edema. Edema opened, and it was co-headlined Cypress Hill and Linkin Park. And Linkin Park had just was on their first CD with Paper Cut, and the song Crawling, I think, was on that first CD in the end. So I've seen some bands that wouldn't have known how big they were going to be as they were opening for other acts. I've seen Metallica in the 90s on the Load Tour at the Pyramid. Got to see them once. Went to a few Memphis in May festivals where I saw Shinedown. I saw an amazing show with Fuel where they played in the rain, which is just kind of unique because a lot of bands will just walk off the stage when that happens. But they were playing with a storm approaching until it just got dangerous with the lightning. I've always remembered that. So I've seen Fuel and Shinedown there. I saw Shinedown too in an arena tour in Memphis, co-headline with Three Doors Down. I've seen, trying to think of all the bands, Seven Dust, Offspring, some bands I can't even remember right now. I'll probably remember later. I saw Creed, I want to say 4 times. I saw Aerosmith 4 times. It's kind of like a magic number with some of these bands that I've seen. Met Aerosmith when they did their autobiography book many years ago, which, well, I say it was back in the 90s. They did that. They did a book tour, and they signed my book. I still have it. So yeah, back in those days, was really involved in the concert circuit. I have a little bit of my coffee. No, it's past Christmas, but Santa Cup. Anyway, yeah, just I was in a band in the 90s, and we at first called ourselves Jester, and then we called ourselves Broken, and we had found out another band was called Jester. And I think another band ended up having a couple of hits that was called Broken later on. It wasn't us, so, but and we did all right for just in Memphis. I mean, we played a few gigs here and there. I mean, we played at a place in downtown Memphis one time called the New Daisy Theater. A lot of bands had played there. I saw Seven Dust there too. Saw them at Memphis in May. Saw them at the New Daisy. Met Seven Dust too. This was on their first tour. They were hanging out at their tour bus behind the New Daisy. Just walked back there, and there they were having beers with their road crew. And super nice guys. And I still have that flyer that they signed. So that was interesting. I know I'm just kind of going all over the place. I'll go back to our band in a minute, but first time I saw Creed was in a little club before they were a big time arena band. Saw them in a little club called 616 in Memphis. Don't even think that place is open anymore. And the girlfriend I had at the time met Martin Tremonti, the guitar player of Creed, because they were not that famous at the time. They were walking out the front of the club, and I said, "Oh, it's Mark Tremonti," and she walked over, got an autograph, and the drummer of Creed gave her one of his drumsticks. So, some pretty cool stuff happened. But our band, we just played some gigs. We played parties a lot. We had house parties. We lived together at times. Turn this damn heater off, because if I don't, it's gonna make too much noise. But yeah, I saw a lot of bands, but and some of these concerts, a couple of us in the band, I think we all went to Metallica, but yeah, it's just crazy. And I know I'm not naming all of them, but our band just never did it. did too much. I would say we just were not disciplined enough, probably. We had wrote by the end of being together for, I don't know, I guess we were together 3 or 4 years. Lived in a couple of houses where we played. We played covers. We played Ozzy covers, Metallica covers. We played some Bush, some live, some alternative music at the time. And then we had some original music. But I would say we were not all truly disciplined enough to do what would be necessary, especially in the 1990s, to make it as a band. I mean, I think about today, if we'd had the tools of today, how it would be like bands today. You know, they can get on YouTube, they can just put some stuff out there, get more notoriety. Of course, you need to be decent at what you're doing, but they can get notoriety. They can throw an iPhone in the floor and record a pretty good demo. To do a demo back then in the 90s, we had a girlfriend of the drummer we had. Her dad was into computers. He'd have to come over, set up some computers, set up a board, and do all this complicated shit just for us to get a decent sounding recording, because the only other way you could do it is record through a tape recorder, and it would always sound like shit. And I still have a lot of those tapes, and they're cool to go back and listen to for memories, but to try to send something like that to a record company wasn't going to be good. And we did have one record exec talk to us, but it just never got real serious. But it was fun times. You know, I played lead guitar. I don't feel like I was ever that great at it. I was a decent rhythm player, but you know, we needed to play leads, and I tried to learn them the best I could. And don't play that much now. I've thought about kind of getting back into it. I just haven't been as passionate about it, but I am passionate about music. And I guess that's why I make all my playlists on here public. I decided when I got back into music and I was finally being myself, you know, as much as I think I ever have been, being authentic, you know, trying to I just want to share, you know. I got here, it's like, let me share everything, because, well, not everything, but, you know, share music anyway, because it touches so many people, music does. So many people relate to different songs with each other, and I like so many genres, and I think it's something I never admitted, you know, would just put everything I really like out there, and so much of it reflects me. And it's all over the place, and that's kind of how I've been throughout my life. You know, I've said before, maybe I'm borderline. I've had personality collapses, suffered through depression off and on through my life, addictive issues, been through a lot of stuff. And you know, so now I realize so much of the music I listen to, so much of it reflects my different moods and different parts of my life and different personality issues I've had. And I'm sure so many of you can relate to that, and finally realized that I'm not boxed into one thing. You know, so many people, it's like you tell them you like metal, and say one person's like, oh, that's great, man, yeah, rock on, yeah, that's fucking cool. But then you listen to a Metallica or Megadeth song, or, you know, I like some of the new stuff, like I like Burning Witches, and I like some European rock like Elevate, and you know, I'm always hearing new stuff too. There's a couple of songs I put up from this band called The Lane, Spirit Box, but you know, there's all kinds of stuff, but then, you know, that same person might hear some of what you like, so it's not heavy enough, or they suddenly find out you like Britney Spears, or you like Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, or, you know, you like some song that's really girly or something like that. You know, it is what it is. But they're like, they don't want shit to do with you. So I'm just talking about stuff like that, or I listen to. You know, maybe it's the other way around. You're all into, you know, somebody finds out you like all these pop songs or these, you know, whatever. And then they also see all of a sudden you like some heavy metal song, and then they don't like that because you're not boxed right into that other genre. So many people are boxed into a genre. Or, I have this playlist of all these old country songs because I grew up hearing it's memories too. And I like a lot of the songs. I have to be in the mood for it. But I grew up with the urban cowboy era of country and pop country in the '80s, late '70s and '80s. And my mom, I grew up in a somewhat chaotic environment at times growing up. But my mom liked to go to concerts. That's probably part of where I get it from. She would take me to concerts with her, and some of the better memories I have that she'd take me to fairs, and I didn't like rides at fairs, but of course while I was at the fair, we go see a concert a lot of times. I go into the fun houses and the haunted houses. I like those, but I saw like groups like Alabama, the country band, when they first came out when I was probably like 6 years old at a fair. Saw like Eddie Rabbitt, or I saw these country stars of that era. As far as '80s groups, I remember we saw Jefferson Starship. We saw Conway Twitty. She took me. She was a big Conway Twitty fan, and Loretta Lynn. She might have been at that show. I can't remember, but I remember seeing Conway Twitty and John Schneider, which was Bo Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard. If any of you know the TV show Dukes of Hazzard, that was a show I liked as a kid. So I do remember thinking it was cool to see John Schneider. So I saw these bands. I've been to the Grand Ole Opry. See, that's the thing. I've been to metal shows. I've been to rock shows. As an adult, I have been even to Nashville and to the Grand Ole Opry and I've seen Alan Jackson. I've seen George Jones in concert. I've seen, country stars too. They're just numerous. I've been to arena shows. Here's a cool one. I saw George Strait when Taylor Swift just came out. Taylor Swift opened for George Strait. Her first album, she started off, most people probably know, some people probably don't. She started off in country, and I saw her open up for George Strait, and she was signing autographs, and I have one of her autographed CDs. I still have it. I don't know what that thing might be worth, who knows, but I still have her first CD autograph from where she opened up at the George Strait concert. Just different things like that, going to shows, being part of shows. Who I didn't know back then, who never knew Taylor Swift was gonna become a humongous pop star. And I have a few of her songs on my playlist. I don't really, not much into old Taylor Swift. I like a couple of her newer songs. I like Lavender Haze and Fortnight. I've got a live one on there of her and Robbie Williams. And Robbie Williams is someone I learned of from my ex when I was in Sweden. Somebody I'd known, or that's when I'd heard of him, and I found that live track of him and Taylor Swift. I thought it was really cool. The song Angels. And music just influences so much of our lives. It takes us back to God. It takes us back to our childhoods. It takes us back to crucial moments in our life. Sometimes those memories aren't so good. Sometimes those memories are fantastic. It's like a soundtrack for our lives going back. And that's when I got away from it in New Age for a while. I had forgotten that. And then when I finally rediscovered music, I was like, man. And then I started discovering new stuff too. And I started opening my mind up to not only all the old stuff I used to listen to, but also current day stuff and more new stuff. And everything I've ever been influenced throughout my entire life, I think I've taken pieces of that with me, and I'm sure many of us have. You take pieces of things with you. And I did the same thing from Sweden. I ended up getting into Arch Enemy, not because she was into any of that. She wasn't. I mean, the truth is, when I was in Sweden, I was hiding a lot of myself, like I did with a lot of people. What's funny, I think we went a lot of places, and We watched TV and movies together quite a bit, things we liked, but music, I remember she had even asked me, hey, play some songs, or she had one of those Alexa things, and she's like, play some songs that you like. And I was always too afraid of being judged by certain things. So I really didn't. I let her choose the songs usually, and then we would laugh and cut up over some oldie songs from the 50s and stuff. But I never really did expose what I actually really liked. But Sweden, like so many other parts of my life, in times of my life, affected me, though, as far as just getting to go over there and take away what happened between me and her. Just the fact of what I got to experience over there, like anything else in my life, it stayed with me. The good parts of it, and the country really impressed me anyway. But I got into music like Catatonia and Arch Enemy through my own just exploring the music scene, but the European music scene in general, not just Sweden. I like, Elevate is, I think, from Switzerland originally. So is Burning Witches. So some of these other bands I listen to are from different areas, but just the interest I had in Sweden led me to find Catatonia and Arch Enemy and Eliane, which is a newer metal band, and then Veronica Maggio, which is somebody I just stumbled upon, had no idea who she was either. And thing with her is she's probably, I could be wrong because I don't know for certain, but I'd say if she's not the top pop star there in Sweden, she's got to be among the top from just what I've seen watching her on YouTube and finding her. And I was just impressed by her emotion. And she sings all of her songs in Swedish, but the language is beautiful. And her emotion caught me, but what originally caught me was a song, and I might be pronouncing it wrong, I don't know, it's Circles Tori. And that's the first song it just come up one day, and I think it came up because sometimes I'd watch walks in Stockholm because we were in Stockholm a lot. She lived near there. My ex lived near there, and we spent a lot of time there. And what's funny is I didn't know a lot about where we had went in some ways until I looked back on it and I started learning about the areas more. I had watched walks on YouTube, people that lived there that do walks, and one of them was called Stockholm Walks, one of the channels, and she played music in her videos sometimes. And that song, she was walking, she did a video at Circles Tori, and I didn't really know what the area was, but we walked through there a lot. It's like in the city center. It's a big square, which is what the word Tori means in Swedish. And it's like tiled in this huge area, and you can go into shops. If I remember right, there was an area where there might have been shops down into the square, and we would go into the subway area through there. But the lyrics of the song about it, was, I guess, for me, reading what the lyrics meant was like a love song of spending time at Circles Tori or whatever. You would have to hear it, read the lyrics, but it touched me. It touched me, but it's also, a song can't just touch me by the lyrics. It's originally when I didn't even know what the song meant at first. A song, whether it's in foreign language, there's other foreign languages. I mean, Elevate does one called Omnos that's in I believe it's in a type of Celtic language I like. But for me to hear a song, whether it's English or in a foreign language, the tune has to capture me, the emotion of the song, like the voice, the emotion of the singer, and the music. If the music don't capture me, I'm not going to care that much about the lyrics. But when the music captures me, then I get interested in the lyrics. And then it all has to kind of capture me that way in a sense. And that's what happened. I listened to the emotion of her singing and then saw the significance of the lyrics, and I related to it a lot personally. For me, it was just, I had an emotional response to it, and it really got me into her. And next thing you know, I found she had so many emotional songs. She's a good live performer. Watched some of her live videos. And the truth is, I just left that country with a piece of me was left there, basically. And I think but pieces of me have been left in other parts of my life too. And I think that's just the case with us all, is that there's pieces of us, we become, in a lot of ways, we do become who we are through different things that have happened to us and things we've been through in our lives. Those experiences, good and bad, can stay with us. So anyway, I guess I just wanted to get on here and go through. I know a lot of people just relate to the emotion of song, the emotion of music, the emotion of playing instruments, or the emotion of just, lately it's just been a go-to for me, getting back into it the way I did after getting away from it for so long. It's been one of those things that's been like, wow, I'd been missing out. So anyway, I guess I'm going to get off here for now, guys, and I'll talk to you next time.